Alright, so I'm working on the Mustang today, did an oil change, and last night my wife and I were driving home, and I couldn't see a whole lot. So I kicked the high beams on, and come to find out I already had the high beams on. I'd kicked them off, and the headlights are they're so clouded now that you can't hardly see anything. And I've decided it's time to pull them out and clean them up. So I'm going to show you today how to sand them and hit them with some 2K and clean them up. But I've said this before. If the manufacturer is using obscure hardware on covers, it's not for any kind of special, there's no extra torque or anything like that or weight savings they're trying to do and using something weird like a 5.5 millimeter bolt. They do this because socket sets don't have a 5.5 millimeter socket usually, and they want you to bring the vehicle in to the dealership for maintenance. Well, if you have to replace a headlight, you have to pull this front panel off, you've got to have a 5.5 millimeter socket. I happen to have a 7/32 socket, which I don't know, it came in one of my sets and I had it and it works fine on these. But this is engineers trying to engineer a way that you have to bring the car to them to do your own work. It's shameful. I would be embarrassed if I were a Ford executive to admit that, oh yeah, we put job security bolts everywhere. So anyways, I went to pull the headlight out, and you have to pull off the whole front bumper cover assembly. You can get to all three bolts and the one plastic clip on this fine. It's easy to get to, but this is too big to come out with the bumper cover in place. You just can't pull it out. So you've got to pull the bumper cover off. I have new tray, under bumper tray to put on, so I mean it's time to do that anyways. I have fog lights, and I've pulled those out also. I've got to unbolt them from the actual grill, and that way I can paint them. But basically, I'm just going to take these off. I'm going to sand these down with some 400 or 500 grit sandpaper. Then I'm going to go back with some 800 grit sandpaper and get them smoother, and then I'll clear coat them, and that should take care of all the issues. But I'll tape it off when I go to clear coat it, and I'll do the same on the fog lights. Let's see how it goes. Alright, so if you notice, I've gone until I got all the yellowing off, and then there's some places where the plastic is still clear along the outside. I went ahead and sanded those too because I want the clear coat to stick to every part of it. These do pop off, but I'm getting sanding dust everywhere, and honestly I don't feel a need to pop these off to do this work. I'm going to go ahead and tackle this one and clean it up and do the headlights, and we'll be ready to shoot some paint on these. Now, there are some tips out there online about taking off bug spray and spraying these with it and rubbing it in, and it's supposed to clear them up. And I've tried that. My son and I tried that on his Crown Vic, and it actually works. It does. I don't know if there's a specific formulation you have to look for, but we got just the pump spray off bug spray, and we rubbed it in, and it cleaned up the headlights on his Crown Vic. And my biggest worry about that is that it's not going to last as long as clear coating them. But I want to say that 2 years later they still looked okay. So if you want to go that route, that is a cheap and easy way. But this is my Mustang. I want to do this once and not have to do it again for the life of the car. I've gotten this far. This car is 18 years old, and it's just now to the point where they're really rough and really causing problems. So if I can paint these and then last another 10 years, that's probably going to be the life of the car. So while I could get away with the bug spray, I'm doing the paint on these. And honestly, if you had to flip a car, if you were flipping a car and you did the bug spray, that is kind of, I would say it's kind of a dirtbag thing, except for the fact that I know that it works, and it'll last for a couple of years. If you're selling if you bought a car for $500 and you're flipping it and selling for $2,000, the owner can't expect, the buyer can't expect that you did, you spent $1,000 fixing it, and if you did a 10-cent fix with some off bug spray and it works, they should be happy about it. But if you've got a $40,000 car that just happens to have a couple of headlights that have fogged up, and you're telling them you did all the work the right way and you used bug spray. That's kind of a dirtbag thing. Do it the right way if you're doing it on a car that's desirable. All right, so I got these all cleaned up finally, I think. This is not easy work. You're going to be scrubbing on these, and when you're cleaning these, you'll be scratching away. You'll get a nice, even-looking surface, and you'll think you're done. But along the top edge here, I was seeing some cloudiness, and I had to keep scraping on it, keep sanding it with sandpaper to get it clean up. And you've got to get rid of that cloudiness. You've got to get rid of the yellow tint. You've got to get rid of all of that to get these cleaned up well enough. So I'm going to go in and rinse these in the kitchen sink and see where I'm at. I just went inside for a little bit to take care of something, and while I was inside, I looked these up online real quick. And a new set of headlights. The lenses are replaceable, but you can't buy just the lenses. And they are sealed along the edges here with some gooey stuff. So I imagine somebody somewhere sells those. I hadn't found them yet. But a new set of headlights is, at its cheapest, I found $90. And the fog lights are $85. So that's $175 for a full set of lights. And this is going to cost me a $25 can of clear coat and about $5 worth of sandpaper. So that's $30 off of $175. So I'm saving myself $140 by putting this labor into it. And so far I've got about an hour. I've probably got about 2 hours into all the bumper removal and everything, and then taking these off and cleaning them. So by the time I'm done, I'll probably have about 3 hours, 4 hours labor into it to save $140. That's a fair trade-off. That's not crazy. So anyways, time to go rinse these off, see what I got. I imagine I'm going to rinse these off, and I'm going to see more stuff that I have to clean up before I can clear coat these. I was mentioning the cloudiness, and now I can see a little bit around the edge here that I didn't. You can see this section here where there's a visible line between these two. I'm going to have to sand that some more before I can paint this one, more than likely. Yeah, because that's making a difference. If you'll notice, the sandpaper tends to clog up with little clumps of plastic. It pays to change out your sandpaper pretty often. I've used 2 pieces of sandpaper so far on this. Alright, so I took these in and cleaned them up in the kitchen sink, and they're looking really good. The little bit of cloudiness that I saw on one of the fog lights, it cleaned up as soon as I hit it with water. I think it'll be fine. One thing I will say though is, hitting them with water, they're not getting as clear as I'd like them to be, so I'm going to have to clean these up with it. I was using 500 grit sandpaper, and I have some 1200 grit here, and I'm going to hit them with that and trying to smooth them out a little bit more before I go to spray the paint on, and that should clear up the rest of that cloudiness. I did a video a while back about things to keep in bulk in your shop, and sandpaper is one of those things you need to keep in bulk. If you are out of any kind of sandpaper and you've got to go to the store, look and see what else you have. Honestly, for sandpaper, I like having some 80 grit on hand for stuff. 80 grit, 100 grit, 300 grit, 500 grit, 1000 grit. Have a selection of sandpaper, at least one package of each on hand in your shop. And that saved me, because I forgot that I had bought 1200 grit. And last time I went and bought sandpaper, I used that method. I went and bought more sandpaper than I knew that I needed. I bought other sizes that I knew I didn't have. And so I just happen to have it on hand now when I do need it. If you're going to be doing any serious amount of work, it pays to think about that kind of thing ahead of time. Otherwise, I'd be spending, 8 miles to Harbor Freight, 8 miles back, 16 miles. I get about 12 miles a gallon in a truck, so I'd have been spending $5 just in gas to go get sandpaper, and in half an hour, 40 minutes of my time, when all I did was walk over to the cabinet and there I had it. Buy sandpaper in bulk. Alright, so I got them all sanded with 1200 grit paper, and I'm getting ready to paint them. So this is 2K, Spray Max 2K clear coat. This will give it a gloss finish, and it'll fill in all the peaks and valleys and give it a smooth surface to shine through. So this ought to permanently fix my headlights. If you're spraying this stuff, you absolutely want to wear a mask. This stuff is bad. I know this is an epoxy, if I remember right, or it's polyurethane epoxy, I don't know. But I remember back when I was learning how to paint and having to paint flightline equipment, and I worked for a contractor, not for the government, so we actually painted our own equipment. And one of the things they talked about epoxy is if you breathe it in, it sticks to your lungs, and it will actually take away, it will coat the inside of your lungs, and if you keep spraying with it and you don't take care of yourself, eventually you'll get to the point where you'll develop COPD, other issues. You basically won't be able to use your entire lung function because part of your lungs are coated with this stuff. I don't know which paints do that and which paints don't. What I do know is if you're using spray paint, protective mask must be worn when spraying paint from aerosol. There you go. You must wear a mask when you spray this stuff. Being out in the breeze really isn't enough. And if you're wearing a mask and you can smell it, stop and adjust your mask. You should not be able to smell this stuff through your mask. I sprayed a lot of paint when I was working on flightline equipment, and I always wore a respirator. And here I am, I'm in my 50s, and other people I know are jacked up, and I've still got my health. So take care of your body. God only gives you one. I've got my respirator ready. So if you've never used this stuff before, I've been sitting at my desk for a while. You got the top you put in the bottom here. I think I'm supposed to shake it first though. Let's see. Let's read this. You shake it for 2 minutes, then you puncture the bottom, you shake it for 2 more minutes, then you spray. So let's not do that yet. I'm gonna fast forward here a bit. Now to punch the seal on the bottom. Shake it for 2 more minutes. Alright, got it all shook up. I was very careful to do the full shaking instructions like it said. It's been sitting on my desk for over a year and I haven't used it, and it does have a shelf life, so I'm hoping the extra shaking, shaking it for the full amount will help ensure it sprays good. I'm all masked up. Already they look so much better. It looks like they're going to look like brand new whenever this is done. There's some cloudiness there. I'm wondering if that's going to clear up or if I'm going to have to sand it down again. It's clearing up as it dries, so excellent. All right, second coat. All right, I've done 2 coats, and I'm seeing just a little bit of crazing right here and here on these two. I'm going to turn the angle a little bit so they're out of the sun and facing downhill. And I'm going to try to hit those 2 spots one last time, but the paint is drying very nicely, going together well. I'm about ready to unmask these two, and they can go back in the grill. So I'm letting the paint dry for quite a while. I think it's been about 40 minutes since I put the last coat on. Alright, so these look really nice. There are a few angles where you can see a little bit of the haze from the paint. There's a nick there that I couldn't get out of the lens. I sanded on it for a while and it wasn't going to come out. Does this look show quality good? No. Does it look brand new? From a distance, from 10 feet away, everybody will think you have brand new lenses. Somebody getting up close and picking at it is going to see that you've repainted them. But this is my daily driver. This is not a show car. I am perfectly happy with this, and I saved 140 bucks doing it this way. So hope you learned something from this, and yeah, learn a cheap way to keep your cars up. All right, so the lighting's not so great, but I've got it done. I'm about to pull the Mustang in the front yard. I need to head to Harbor Freight, and I think my wife's wanting to take the Mustang, but I'm not going to take this driving while this paint is dry mostly to the touch, but I really want it to cure before I go driving and get bug guts in it. Tomorrow that paint will be hard and the bug guts will splatter and they won't hurt the coating at all. If I drive it today and those bug guts splatter in it, they're going to ruin the work that I've done. So I'll drive it tomorrow. But today it's going to sit in the driveway and that paint's going to cure. And all in all, I think that turned out beautifully. The Mustang looks, well, you know, as I said, it's a daily driver. It's a little worse for wear. But from 10 feet away, it still looks like a rock star.